dispose of them, they will be conspiring to devise a way to defeat you. And I'm sorry to say that in some cases they will be smarter than their human opponents. We're going to be offering a sneak preview of Perfect Dark starting tomorrow morning on the show floor. But Perfect Dark is an industry-leading game for next year. More important are the games that will be setting new standards for video gameplay this year. And to act as our master of ceremonies for this parade of great new Nintendo software, I'd like to turn things over to our Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Peter May. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. Most of you over recent years and over several years have heard me say repeatedly, the name of the game in this business is unquestionably the game, and it's no more true.
Kind of live voiceover. Now, Howard tells me it's because we have so many games that we have to go over today, but I think it's because I know I just sit up here and play for long past my measly 5 minutes. Anyway, another reason it's cool that we're doing it this way this year is because I'll be able to point out some of the finer details of what you'll see on the videotapes. It's easy for me to stand up here and tell you, kind of the marketing line of what a game is about. But it's harder for me to be able to point out as I'm playing something that might stand out, and what makes our games great is usually the details. Anyway, without further ado, I'd like to get on with the videotape. The first thing Junior asked us to do when we talked to him about making this game was to make it as real as absolutely possible. Watch Bernie here hit one in the right field wall. Notice how the camera really gives you a feel for the size of the stadium. I'm especially proud for the camera work in Griffey. It's the best camera I've ever seen in a baseball game, let alone any sports game. Just trying to get that extra base on Jay Buhner is sometimes a little risky. For me, when it comes down to baseball, video games, and baseball in general, the most important thing is the pitcher-batter game. How fun the pitcher-batter game is describes the game. So I'm going to describe it for you here quickly. The square above the plate, of course, is the strike zone. The yellow circle, it represents where the batter is trying to aim, while the green crosshair represents where the pitcher is trying to throw. So all you really have to do is just aim the circle at the square. That can be a little harder to do sometimes. Realize this is Griffey, and of course, he has the biggest circle in the game. Maybe that was his personal request. Even if you can manage to connect, gotta get past the fielders. Of course, the game includes very realistic player attributes. And then, Kenny Lofton sometimes has trouble getting a hit off of Randy, but, just like reality, gets a little blooper, but he's really fast, so he can pull off the run to first. And every once in a while, Randy's not perfect, so maybe Sedania's gonna get off on one here. Is to turn you into 5 different characters in the game. Here he's going to turn you into a little croc. A lot of times these have to do with playing different mini games. Here we're going to play what we call Eat 'em All. The idea there was to try and out-eat the big red guy. Here's another mini game. It's kind of Rare's take on the Ouija board concept. Well, that's not a mini game, but it is important, and I'll let you figure out what you have to do there. That's only at level 2. Banjo being big, you might not want to be in his way when he comes down giant ski jumps. Oops. Zooey's your little buddy, and he'll help you out all the time, even when you're hundreds of feet in the air. Okay, he'll help you out most of the time. Let's move on to F-Zero X. This is a sequel to what was easily my favorite 16-bit racing game, if not my favorite Super NES game. Well, of course, there was Zelda. This time around, though, it's 30 cars on the screen at 60 frames a second. And one of the things that's really the coolest was, when I played Super NES F-Zero, I always wanted to race my friends. Sorry. Well, now I can race 3 of them at once, and I think we've done this in the office quite a bit in the last month. Naturally, I think I won more than my fair share. Here I'd like you to notice the specular highlighting of the cars. Really brings these low-slung hover racers to life. And also, like the original F-Zero, there's lots of jumps, tight turns. This time around, I'll notice what he's doing in the air. Your car actually has a lot of ability to fly this time around. Once you launch yourself into the air, you can pull the stick forward and back to gain altitude, and you can make really sharp turns, and of course you have to be careful because not all the roads have railings. Okay, finally let's move on to a game that might look a little bit young, but I think it's actually pretty revolutionary. This is of course 12 Tales Conquer 64. What's cool about this game is there's actually two totally different ways to play. One of them you saw last year, you see here, it's where you play as Conquer. You play what would be definitely on par with Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, a huge 3D adventure game. Here, however, you have a secondary character named Barry. You can play the entire game as Barry. Barry actually gets this little pet to follow her around. She can't do any attacking. She has to kind of order the pet to do the attacking for her. It's very cool. I hope you'll try it out on the floor. Obviously, being an adventure game, it's got some cool stuff. This little roller coaster ride, something you would discover about this. And here's my favorite part, something we call environmental awareness. The idea here is that your characters understand what's going on in the environment around them. Sometimes that means they can actually see things that you can't see. So you actually have to watch what your character is looking at when you play the game. Technically, this is, at this day, currently the best 3D engine on the N64. Here's an example of 23 characters moving all at the same time. There are also 20 individual sound channels, and that's all happening in 5-channel surround. It's a little hard to notice here, but we have special surround booths on the floor, and I'd like you to step into them and get a real ear for what surround on the 64 can be all around. Anyway,
I want to be the very best.
A young boy dreams of becoming the best Pokemon trainer in the world. But first, he must learn the ways of the mysterious Pokemon, capture and train 150 of the elusive creatures. Not easy, since each has widely differing powers and abilities. Some are even capable of evolving. So every encounter is like a rock, paper, scissors battle of shifting superiority, always demanding his best strategies, if he is to become a Pokemon master and reach his ultimate goal, the collecting of all 150 varieties of Pokemon. But that's TV, and the driving force of the mania here today seems to be the Game Boy game, where players go beyond TV to become interactive participants in the Pokemon saga. According to highly placed Pokemon sources, both the TV show and the Game Boy game share storylines, but the Nintendo game offers compelling and unique play value for potential Pokemon masters. For example, reports indicate that players cannot amass all 150 Pokemon without trading them among friends. Likewise, certain Pokemon may never evolve without a link to a second Game Boy game. Thus, cooperation, not combat, is the key to completing a Pokemon collection, and offers perhaps the greatest insight into the social phenomenon and to the Game Boy game's broad-based appeal. That and the downright cuteness. Still, combat is the word that comes closest to describing the scene here in Japan, as millions jockey to be the next in line to collect the latest item of hotter-than-hot Pokemon merchandise. It is best summed up by the Pokemon slogan, or what has become a rallying cry for millions: catch 'em if you can.
Pokemon, you're going to see them everywhere. Coming as a television show, as indicated in the U.S. in September 5th, I think, 5 days a week, and 90% coverage in the nation. The Game Boy games will launch on the 29th of September. And there was a slip in my earlier comment. It will launch in Europe in 1999. But after almost 2 years in Japan, lest anybody think it started to slow down there as a phenomenon, you're going to see a little device walking around the show on many of us. It kind of looks like some kind of very unusual, perhaps communications device. But what it is a little game called Pokemon Pikachu. Launched just 30 days ago in Japan. This combination, virtual pet, pedometer, mini game, alarm clock, has gone on sale in Japan, and in 30 days sold just over 2.5 million pieces, with another 700,000 coming out of production right now and being rushed to retail shelves everywhere. This you'll see at the show. It'll be available in the US and Canada at the start of November. A phenomenal product. So Pokemon, the printer, the camera, the launch of the colored product, truly going to be the biggest Game Boy year in its 10-year history. An unbelievable phenomenon in an industry that's preoccupied with the next technology and 128 bits. Well, here it is, 1989, still roaring in 1999. But as usual in Nintendo fashion, that ain't all. And as usual, we saved the best for last, and for that, I'd like to turn it back over to Howard Lincoln.
Thank you. And as Peter said, all that's really left to talk about is the biggest news for Nintendo in 1998. This afternoon it's my privilege not only to introduce you to the biggest title of the year, and to what I firmly believe is the most anticipated video game of all time, namely The Legend of Zelda, The Ocarina of Time. But I also have the special honor of introducing you to the man who is responsible for this masterpiece. He is also the man who will tomorrow night be honored as the first inductee ever in the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Shigeru Miyamoto. Well, although Mr. Miyamoto is a poet in speaking the universal language of video games, he's asked me to handle the English for him today and to read a few comments that he's written and that I have had translated, which describe what he's attempted to create with this first 64-bit Zelda adventure. I first imagined the world of Link and Zelda many years ago. From the start, my goal was to make a place for players that would be very different from the real world. I hoped in this world players would do things they had never done and go places they had never been. Maybe these are places they dream of. Maybe these are places they are frightened to be. Of course, the Nintendo 64 lets me realize this goal better than ever before, creating more dramatic graphics and moving both the characters and the camera through 3D worlds. I hope, in fact, that you feel you become Link, that you feel his curiosity, his fear, and the danger that surrounds him. In my mind, this Zelda game is like a great adventure book that requires the combined imaginations of both the author and the reader. I hope you will have the chance to begin reading this adventure book on the show floor. But today I want to start turning some of the pages for you. I hope you will enjoy the new Zelda. We are very proud of it. Signed, Shigeru Miyamoto.
permitted using premise for the following sales presentation. Your mileage may vary. Substantial penalty for early withdrawal from meeting room.
Manny, baby, enough already. Listen, I've got a big-time network program scheduled to fill here, and yeah, I know he's big, and I know the movie was big, but DiCaprio just ain't ready yet for prime time on this network.
Listen, I don't care how many other customers you've got. That Z3 Red is just so yesterday. I want the champagne, and I want the saddle interior, and I want it tomorrow. Or you can just go do business with some geek at Microsoft.
Hey, Manny, listen to me. I ain't gonna bite. Now you just get back on the horn and get me Nicholson. Get me Nicholson for that new boss role, and then maybe we can talk. Yeah, Manny, you got it. Goodbye.
Man, don't these people know who we are? I mean, the negative energy, the bad vibes.
Hey, look, George. Relax a little bit. Relax. It's a beautiful morning here in sunny California. I mean, the smog, it's positively glowing. And let's face it, I mean, nobody ever said that life was going to be easy at the top. But don't forget this, that's exactly where we are, right on top of the world. I mean, just stop and think for a minute. We took all 5 top hits on the charts last year. I mean, nobody can take that from us. We are masters of the universe, pal.
Yeah, well, since when the Masters of the Universe still answer to the bean counters? Aren't you forgetting about Happy Howard's closed circuit feed to the affiliates?
Jeez, I almost forgot. Let's get it on. Hey, let's have a look at it. What's going on here?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our annual little satellite get-together. Those of you who study the ratings know that we here at the Nintendo Network pulled off a pretty impressive feat last year. In the middle of a booming market, we substantially grew our own market share. Independent studies now estimate video game entertainment as a $15 billion business worldwide and projected to grow to over $6 billion in the United States alone in the next year. Console gaming in America grew an astounding 52% in 1997 to set an all-time record. And it happened at the same time the PC guys were growing their business as well. A lot of experts thought this could never happen. One side of interactive entertainment could rise only if the other fell. Not so. The fact of the matter is that interactive entertainment as a whole is stealing eyeball share from rival media. And this year, we on the console side will set another sales record. That's because the so-called next generation cycle is bigger than anything that's come before, and we're not even at the halfway point yet in terms of total sell-through. Veteran Wall Street observers see this current year as the peak for next generation hardware, building to an eventual total installed base of some 45 million homes in the United States alone. That easily eclipses either the 8-bit or 16-bit generations. And the even more profitable software curve won't top out until next year or the year after, again generating record total unit sales, about 350 million games before we're all through. This is truly the mother lode. These games are the mechanism that will keep expanding the interactive entertainment market. Here at the Nintendo Network, our share of this booming industry grew as well. While we ended 1996, we took more than half of everything, 54% of all U.S. video game sales. The result was our best set of financial numbers in recent memory, and everybody entered the new year feeling pretty good. Well, maybe too good, because what's happened since then hasn't been pretty. You've seen the overnight reports starting in January, and you folks out there know that the new guys on the block are on a winning streak. They've got a little momentum going, and we here at the Nintendo Network have some catching up to do. For one thing, while the industry overall has seen explosive growth in the number of game players over the age of 18, we haven't attracted enough of them. In retrospect, this shouldn't have been much of a surprise here at the Nintendo Entertainment Network. After all, when Mario made his debut in prime time in the mid-1980s, no one aged 25 knew who he was, or for that matter, cared. But today's 25-year-olds are the same people who first embraced Mario when they were 10 or 12 years old, and their attraction to great games hasn't waned a bit. We need to convince them that this is still the place to be. Secondly, while we've maintained our leadership position at the top of the hit charts, we simply haven't had enough releases coming out of program development to adequately fill our schedule. And hey, as a result, it's no secret that we've lost momentum in the first half of this year. But you know, there isn't anything new about this kind of situation. In this business, market shares are never stable. And today's hero is tomorrow's goat. You remember how we took a couple of blows on the chin from those hedgehog guys back in '93 and '94? Many of you said we took too long to get up off the mat. But when we did, we flattened them. As I recall, some crazy game called Donkey Kong Country helped turn out their lights. Well, this time we're not going away. Today is the start of instant replay. Gloves on or gloves off. We're ready to start throwing some haymakers. It all starts with product, because the people who give the players the games they really want will ultimately win the lion's share of the profits. It's that simple. I know you've heard me repeat this quality mantra for several meetings in a row now, but hey, Mr. Arakawa and I still believe in it. We believe in it fervently, because it works. But we know that product alone is not enough. We're ready to start reclaiming the initiative on every front as well. We'll do that first by leveraging our...
Oh, great, here we go again. Same thing every year. He makes the promises and we have to deliver the goods.
Jeez, Georgie, I'm telling you, we've stepped deep into it this time. I mean, those guys over at Sony aren't messing around. We just come off a year when we gave them Diddy Kong Racing and Star Fox and GoldenEye. And how the heck can that guy get up there and even promise a repeat of that, much less an improvement? I think Howard's Prozac is worn off again. Talk to me, Zelda.
Mr. Main, I have Madam Kwan here for your 10 o'clock shiatsu massage.
No. There's no time for that now. Forget about my back. I gotta start worrying about my backside. George, you got anything for me? What are we gonna do here?
Relax, Commander. Let's take this one step at a time. Now, we've already got a full schedule of pitches today, so maybe something will turn up.
Yeah, maybe, but sports, we gotta start with sports. We gotta do something new in that area. I mean, if we don't get heavy in that day part, I'm gonna be back repping Roseanne.
As a matter of fact, I just might have something here for us. You know, I was at the game last night and I ran into Boom Boom Baranski.
Yeah.
He gave me this tape and he said, if you want into sports, you want these guys.
Yeah, who are they?
Well, I don't know, but Boom Boom was right about one thing. Be a sportscaster, you have an opinion, you don't need a brain.
Well, you had that right. Let's have a look at it.
Look.
We're live with the Yada about Nintendo Sports, which some claim is the biggest assault on a moving target since Rob.
It is going very. Begin our quest.